Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and host of this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today I have with me Harini Balachandar. Hey, Harini.
Hi, Kim. Good to see you here.
Yes, I am so happy to have you here too. And you have done a lot of things. I'm going to read your short bio so people get an idea of who you are, and then we'll talk about your story.
Sounds good to me.
So, Harini Balachandar is a strategic leader in over 2 decades of cross-functional experience in project management, content development, and learning strategies. As a PMI Agile Certified Practitioner, she excels at optimizing workflows, driving operational excellence, and fostering collaboration across diverse teams. She is the founder of Nexus Diaries, a PR startup dedicated to elevating small businesses through enhanced media presence and authentic storytelling, helping entrepreneurs share their unique narratives and build meaningful connections with their audience. As a mother of two, Harini channels her strategic strengths into skill based volunteering, serving as a board member at A Child's Light, a nonprofit organization providing expedited mental health support for children who have experienced trauma. Her commitment to children's mental health and education earned her the Presidential Voluntary Service Award, Bronze 2024, recognizing her extensive volunteer work in empowering families and nurturing the next generation's wellness and growth. So you've done a lot of things. So just tell us your story.
Yes, definitely. Again, thanks for having me on your show. Appreciate that and this opportunity to connect with your audience. I think for me, my intentional journey started after I had after my 40th birthday, I should say that. So, and I did a lot of introspection to get to where I am today. So, I'm going to share the bit of introspective journey that I've gone through in the past few years so that that kind of tells the story of who I am today. So, something about me is has made me very curious about others, their lifestyle, what they how did they become who they became. So pretty much like how you're asking me questions, I was very curious to know that somewhere in the past couple of years. And then I started reflecting on my own journey to how did I become who I became, right? So thinking back, even as a child, I was a rebel. I was a middle child, and I had my way, and my parents pretty much let me be who I am. I'm lucky for that. So they never boxed me in and said, you got to do this or that. So I'm thankful for that kind of a family. So they let me be an explorer right from a young age. So I think right from I would say my college days is when I really started blooming as a person, finding my own identity. I pretty much raised my hand for everything that would come my way. For example, in school, from kindergarten to 12th grade, I was a very reserved person, and I was pretty average with everything. So I had my close friends, but that's about it. And then when the college life started, which is an absolute change in environment, I immediately started to, hey, this is another opportunity for me to kind of step up and explore more of me. So, I would raise my hand to be a volunteer with anything that college needed, right from being a class representative, so to say, just to kind of connect the teachers and the students. So, and then from there on, it has always been me raising my hand for everything that I was interested in, and curiosity kind of took the better of me. So, and then I started my career back in 2020, 2005 as an instructional designer. Just getting into that role, not many have heard it back then. It was quite an adventure. So instructional designers are folks who build and design training for corporate learners, adult learners. So I started my career as a software tester. I was getting trained on it, but then somewhere along the line, I felt like I was both right and left-brained, and I wanted that creative outlet too. And I discovered this function within my organization called e-learning. And so I said, okay, you know what? I want to go explore that. Again, it was my decision to make. My parents did not intervene. Back in India, even when you start your job, you're so dependent on your parents for a lot of things because we don't step out of the house until we are actually married. So that's how it is back in the day. So um, and I remember vividly, when I was after my interview with the potential manager for that instructional design role, the manager was absolutely amazing because he is my very first mentor, and he heard me because I was a freshman from college, and I said, "Hey, I can do programming, I can design stuff, I can write stuff. So I'm not really sure what I want to do, but and he was open to giving me all the opportunities available within that function. He said, you know what, go explore these spaces and let me know what you like most, and then we'll talk about it. So, there was this programming role, instructional designing, which is more of directing folks on, how to bring things together for a learner. And then there's also the graphic designer, which is purely designing stuff. So I did get a chance to explore all these pieces. And then I said, I love the instructional designing role because I get to see the high level picture of how everything comes together. And so, that's how I landed in that role. So I'm very thankful to him. A big shout out to Vijay. So he has been my first mentor there. And ever since, I have pretty much rolled with whatever came my way. And so, why I'm saying this story is because it helped me understand myself better because I think learning is a big part of me, and I become, it's more of an intentional learning that I'm looking for. I learn what is needed when it is needed, not necessarily, learn everything but not use it. I think the school curriculum was like that, so maybe that's why I was a little bored because it wasn't quite intentional. But then eventually, as I started growing into myself, I think I wanted to kind of be that person to explore and learn and just be a lifelong learner. And in that journey, want to also help others along the way, however I can. So that's the first half of my life there, where I was like pretty focused on my career and everything. And then um, I immigrated here to the US, 15 years ago, and I have two kids and a new teenager and then an 8-year-old. So a few years ago, I was again reflecting on, hey, I left a lot of family and friends behind, a lot of my culture behind, a lot of connections behind. But instead of regretting what I left, I started thinking, what can I make here? How can I be that person to help my kids find the right connections here, even though I myself didn't have it? You know, I know they have a different set of, values being brought up in a different culture. And also they mingle with a different culture that I'm not used to. So in a few years' time when they go into college, however their life takes them, I was afraid that I may not have anything in common to talk to them about. We have our own thing at home, we watch our local movies, but I didn't know who their friends were, what their cultures are, and how their journey through their life is going to take them. And when the time comes to land their career, it's mostly, it's about the network is what your net worth is what everybody says, right? So I didn't have that net worth here because all I knew was my own office folks. I need to take a sip of water, sorry. All right, so all I knew was my office folks as well as, my immediate neighbors and so on and so forth. So I said, you know what, I'm not going to just sit here and regret about things that I'm missing. I got to create something. I gotta make my own community. I gotta be a part of the existing community. They are doing so much that I didn't know, with beyond these four walls. So I stepped out of my comfort zone. I had a microphone and a camera in my hand, and I just, went out interviewing local business owners and asked them about how did they became who they became. I don't know why I chose business owners in particularly because I think I was inspired on how did they become independent, so to say, start their own business, not and work for somebody else, which is a great thing to work for others too, because I do have a day job and I really enjoy working there as well. But at the same time, how did they discover the passion they wanted to pursue full time? You know, so that was an amazing journey. I can just go on and on about it because I met so many different people, so many different perspectives and the lifestyles. So that was, invigorating. It was amazing. Uh, and so I started blogging about all those interviews in their first person, like a Humans of New York flavor kind of. I had my Instagram page where I started uh, writing their interviews in a first person narrative.
Mhm.
And I realized I really enjoyed putting others in spotlight. So that piece, stuck with me. It's like, I love to see others when somebody comments on their post. I'm like, and then they acknowledge all the, journey that they have been through. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. People are, giving kudos to these folks for their journey. And I started thinking, I love this. How can I make this more sustainable? Because I do have a day job, I have two kids and all of that. So that's how my Nexus Diaries was born, which is my current PR service, which is like more like a startup. And so I don't have a PR background. However, I do have content creation background and passion to connect folks as well as build that relationship and showcase their achievements and things like that. Um, so so that's the PR piece of it, and I'll get more into that as we speak. And then that's also how I met uh, a founder of a nonprofit that I started deeply connecting with in the past few years. Her name is Leslie Holt, and she's the founder of this nonprofit called A Child's Light. She's one person that I interviewed as well, and I shared her journey on the blog. And the minute she shared her story, I was literally in tears as a mom of two young kids. It's childhood trauma. And so, I just pretty much, as being me, raised my hand to see how I can help. Just tell me what you need from me, I'll be there to do it. And so, and I firmly believe in skill-based volunteering. You don't really need to go in person to make something happen for somebody in this day and age of technology. So, what do I have that I can give? This was a grassroots organization, so they're just getting started, and I wanted to see what I can do to help. Technology is the thing for many of them, and they are who are trying to get up there, set up their own workspaces and have their own systems and tools to reach to the right people. So I started helping Leslie with all these websites set up as well as emails and set up their own workspace. And whenever she wanted me to be there for some in-person event, I was there. you know so the thing about a child's light is you don't get to see these kids, you don't get to talk to them because absolutely, privacy is the big thing there. So it is very unlike other nonprofits where you get to meet the people that you're serving actually directly. So it's been hard to get volunteers for that reason because they really want to meet these kids, but hey, you're not going to go and comfort them in any way. They need licensed therapist or, pre-licensed therapist to actually talk to them. And so for us, just staying out of the way but still supporting them somehow is going to be the big, asset. So, and then because of that, eventually I was able to help quite a bit with the nonprofits technology growth. We are still a long way to go, but we have our foot into that door now. And so we have was asked if I could be the board chair. We had a few board members, but because of my continuous presence as well as my initiative to help this organization grow, Leslie asked me, and eventually I took on that role. And we also started writing our bylaws and putting the board together. So we had our very first strategic board meeting earlier this year, and we are continuing to grow in that aspect. We had our first annual walk this year, which again, you know, with the help of other community members, we put together. So we are planning for other ongoing engagements. But Child's Light is so amazing for me because I know that kids who are likely or like my kids or probably in the same class as my own kids are going through things that I cannot even imagine as a person, let alone being a mom. This is very inhumane way of traumas. So just letting shining a little bit of light to them, giving them hope, and not letting them lose their childhood. That kind of is something that I'm very passionate about, and I will continue to associate with the organization whether I'm there on the board or not. But so that was a big piece of my fulfillment journey there, and which I continue to hone and I want to contribute towards while I also build my Nexus Diaries PR. I'm also seeking out mentors in the PR space to help me get to that place because, as I said, I bring a different set of skills than an actual PR does. So it is going to be quite a learning journey for me, which I acknowledge. But, I think for me it's important to continue to have open mind, keep learning, and enjoy the journey rather than the destination, and not worry about the destination. I mean, so I think everything will fall into place from there on. Wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot of things that I just shared. I'm sorry that I took so much time to explain my story, but hopefully, that gave you a little bit about my background.
Yeah, that is quite a wonderful journey. So, just to start from the beginning, how did you get from India to US?
Yeah, so I was working with a consultancy that brought me here on a H1 visa because it was a specialized skill visa. So my husband was already here. He has his master's from a university. So everything kind of fell in place at the same time. So my immigration timeline versus us getting married, they were all at the same time. I actually spoke to my husband for 3 days before I said yes to him, and I didn't even see him in person. So we had an arranged marriage.
Wow.
So that was, quite a shock for a lot of folks who have, from this culture, especially knowing that we just spoke for 3 days and didn't even see each other, but still tied the knot. And so eventually my life, we moved in with no intention of immigrating completely, but we just again took it one step at a time to see, if this is where we wanted to be. And so far, knock on wood, we are still here and things are going pretty well. So, uh, you know, um, that's how I got here. So it's both through my job as well as me getting married to my husband brought us here together.
Yeah. So, I know people from this culture are asking, it has to be strange just saying the first day you're together and you're in the same household with someone is a stranger. It's really a stranger. How does
Yeah.
that work? And is it just what is the mindset there? Is it that, okay, we're going to be married and now we change our behavior and now we are married and this is the commitment? How does that work?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that because the 3 days we spoke, I think. most of the 3 days, we just kind of were very casual with our conversations. He was here in the US. So back in the days, we had those Skype conversations. So it was mostly like, hey, he would call me on his commute to work. Sometimes he has a very long commute because he might have to travel to different cities that were nearby. So, he would be on the phone, and sometimes they would just be silence, but still we just enjoyed, just being on the phone, those small moments of, just being intimate in the silence, right? So, and I just love that he would talk everything about his work, even though I didn't understand head or tail about it. So, he would say things that I had no clue, but um, I think I really enjoyed the fact that he wanted to share things with me. He wanted to say how his day was and how he, even though as technical as it got, I was just being a listener over there. So I really enjoyed that piece of him. And there were a few things that, he would be doing, like, going for a weekend movies and all that. So all those future prospects with him seemed amazing. Like, hey, he loves to do this and that, and I like to do that too. So all of that. So and we kind of we're mostly talking about the things that were common to us that we both enjoyed. And then, back behind the scenes, my parents were tapping on my shoulder, like, okay, how's it going? How's that going? What are you going to do next? Are you going to move forward with this? So we had, before we even spoke, we even had our, horoscope matching, which is, typical for most Indian families going through an arranged marriage. And of course, after the horoscope matched, and which is based on also what the family's background is, because they want to be sure whatever the families, whenever they are together, they have similar upbringing. That way it's not too difficult to adopt to it, right? So because they are going to be all together, so it's like not just marrying another person but marrying the families, right? So that's why we do the horoscope matching, to be sure they are from the same background or similar background. And else, hopefully the astrological predictions were right, that we were able to get together, things like that. And then we get to just read the high level profile of the person in the matrimonial website and say, okay, who are they? What did they do? Are they employed? Are they not? Get the basics done. Just make sure that your life is going to be secure.
Mhm.
So that would be the next one. So, and then we get to talk to them to see if we are able to, at least connect in some ways. So after 3 days, and I have the top tap on the shoulder, I asked my husband now, back then, I was like, well, what do you think? How do you feel like, this is going? Do you want to move ahead with, our arrangement here?
Mhm.
He was a smart guy. Absolutely, he still is. And he's like, he threw the ball back in my court. He didn't want to make the decision or a call. I know he liked me, but he let me decide, and I still, kind of give him a tough time about that now, because I ended up being the person kind of like proposing. So I'm like, well, I think it's good, but the only question I had for him is, just 3 days we have spoken, and everything seems like it's all, fun and great and happy. What happens when we both come to a disagreement? What happens when we both start this fight or whatever it is? How's that going to look like? That's the question I asked him. And I loved his answer, and that's what kind of sealed the deal for me, because he's a very practical kind of guy. He said, "Well, I'm not going to say that's not going to happen. I'm not going to say it's all fairy tale, but I can only tell you, if that happens, we will work through it." You know. So I just loved that answer, because it showed me that he's very practical and is willing to work through challenges, and not necessarily, promise the world to me and then go back on his words. So he has definitely stuck with those words till date. The first 10 years of our marriage was the most difficult time, to say the least. But I think if not for him, it would have ended differently. But he has been the most amazing patient guy, and now I'm so glad that this all happened. But I think for me, that was the very crucial question. And there were other small things like, do you like my height? Do you like my, age difference and all of that? Those were like small things, we can always, deal with. So that was my mindset. So starting with that mindset and knowing, coming from a culture, and my mom had an arranged marriage too. So many of the folks that I knew had an arranged marriage. So it was not abnormal to kind of walk in. I didn't really think about the past. I'm somebody who lives in the moment and also looks for the future. And because I know I cannot change the past in any way. So when the first time when I got into the train to leave from my hometown to my husband's hometown in India after marriage, you know, my parents, and of course, they were all in tears. But for me, it was more of an adventure. I was an adventure seeker at that time. Maybe I was too young and too naive, but I'm like, ooh, this is cool. I'm gonna go away with somebody that I'm married to. So I felt more secure because I'm married to this guy. Now he's responsible. In fact, when we tied the knot, so to say, his hands were shaking because he knew he was taking a responsibility on him. So, and I was like, yay, give me a high five. So I was pretty happy about that. So I think, he's also older and mature. So I think he kind of knew what was coming to him. So it was fun times, but yeah, it was definitely challenging to not first of all know your husband well enough to also getting to know a new in-laws and living with them for some time. So it's not just one person that we are having to adopt and change to, but going with a mindset that I could adopt and change. I could, become a different person and a better person. So just taking that, and of course, you also have to be a self advocate. That's another piece I'm very passionate about speaking on. So even though at beginning, whenever I tried to express myself, it didn't really come out the way I intended to. It was more raw with a lot of emotions. I was being a self advocate. I was trying to express myself. Not many understood that, and I had to fight my way through that. So now I'm more confident with myself and I'm able to articulate it better with a more patient way. So, age does matter in the way we are expressing things.
Mm-hmm.
So, if the younger you are, you're more, about your, you're more tuned into your emotions and that gets the better of you. So, but so it was quite a bit of challenge for me the first few years, especially going through pregnancies and all those changes in your mind and body, and trying to still express yourself was the hardest part. And so even now, I wouldn't say I'm 100% understood, but I know my husband does. And we both are learning about each other even now. So there's a lot of things, it's a lifelong journey, even though you have your own spouse and you still find something interesting about them after all these years that you didn't know all these years. Just being open to that thought about, nothing is set in stone. Everybody will change. Harini yesterday is not the same Harini today. So, and I have to acknowledge that about other people too, for me to kind of give them grace as well as move on. And I hope others also understand that about me, so that, I can also, I try to not have that feeling of being judged, because that's another thing that hold us back, right? The feeling of getting judged by somebody, but that's actually in your mind. You may not really be, they may not really be judging you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about let them think what they think, but I know what I'm doing is right in my heart. I'm not harming anybody in any way. So I'm just living my life. So I think just, being kind to yourself through all that journey it's very important for me. So, and that's what I'm doing these days to give that kind of, give myself grace, even if I have tough time with my kids and I yell at them, scream at them for not doing certain things. I'm like, I'm being a mom. I'm okay. I'm trying to protect them. So I tell that to myself. And then after a while I go give them a hug in case that's different to make things up. But sometimes it's like, don't beat yourself up about things when you are coming from a good intention, place of intention there.
Yeah, I love that.
Hmm.
So you had to integrate with the family, but then when you went outside the house, there was a whole community for you to integrate with. So how did that work? How did you find your place there?
Yeah, I think I'm still finding my place. I don't think I've completely found it yet. But yes, that's a good way to put that. There's a big world out there. So it's my family, then a community, and then a city and a world. You can just go on. There's a universe out there. But I think, as I said, it's important to also ask yourself, what have you given back? What have you done? So you can't just expect somebody to accept you, for who you are all the time and just be like, oh, why are they, treating me differently? Why are they doing or saying these things? What have you done? And even after those efforts, are they still treating you differently? Then that's on them, you know. So for me, it was important that I started exploring ways to give back, ways to kind of, uplift the people around me, and ways to use my skill set and my influence for whatever I can do. And so that kind of became a core of my belief where, you know, um, I can't just walk out and say, I'm an immigrant, people are looking different at me, and, they're not going to accept me. Yeah, I'm sure, even getting accepted by your own in-laws or your family is a huge journey. You were not born into that family. So I can now imagine how it's going to be when you walk into a foreign country and, expect people to be, immediately accepting of you. All right, so the curiosity should continue through that journey where you're going to also learn about that community. How can I adopt to that community? And in terms of what can I give back? How can I serve them? And when you do that with that intention, everything will fall into place, as I said. So for me, I just started this a few years ago. I have a long way to go to kind of feel more integrated and build that sense of belonging. I have friends and other family members who have been here for decades. Still, the sense of belonging is something that they struggle with and often think about, did we make the right choice? But hey, regrets are not going to get you anywhere, and it's also not going, going to prohibit you from living the moment. So I think, again, don't walk into a community that with this feeling of, hey, I'm going to be judged. No, you know, and you are also judging people around you in that case, right? So if I say, okay, I'm going to go for this networking event and I'm going to be the only brown female walking in from my community. I've done that many times now. And maybe the initial a couple of months were a little awkward because I was stepping out of my comfort zone. But after which, if you actually open up, people are like, oh, that's nice that somebody who's not part of this community is actually coming in to learn, to coming in to, be a part of it. And they're more welcoming than you would know. So they would actually, they're more willing to work with you. They are more willing to, connect with you one on one to learn your journey. So, I think I found that amazing here in my community personally, where they are very open-minded in terms of accepting differences and accepting them as perspectives and kind of, encouraging us to be more of the community, be part of more of the community. So I have never, knock on wood, felt very as an outsider, and and I hope I don't. So, but I feel like, I can definitely do more, and there's a lot more to do in terms of, feeling more integrated and belong here. And I want my children, for more than anything, to feel that because they are confused, because we come from a different culture, we speak different things, but then, they are, I'm going to say they're confused. Maybe they are not. But in my perspective, I felt like, you're also handling a lot of things, the parenting style is so different from the parenting style that is there in the typical American community there. So, and we are first generation. If we were second generation, like my kids, we would have been more integrated. We would know what is going on, right? So I think I'm more concerned for my kids. I hope, we don't confuse them with our lifestyle, because we have to acknowledge the fact that they are being brought up in a different culture, but the values are very much very similar. If I look closely, any family, they give importance for their kids. We do too. And, they want them to succeed, and we do too. So there's a lot of similarities that people don't often talk about, and it's all the differences that's always surfacing. So the time is come for us to shine the light on the similarities between these families, these, generations, so that, we kind of get more things to celebrate together rather than, find differences and hate and all that.
So you started out in design and educational, instruction, which is very methodical. And now you're pivoting to PR, which is very much the other side of the brain, the storytelling, the imagination. So, first of all, it's kind of a two-part question. What attracted you to PR, and what is different about your approach?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, I don't think PR is very imaginative in that sense. It um, tells story in such a way that, it is absolutely factual. There is nothing made up in PR, and that's something I totally connect with, love the honesty piece of the PRs. There's always these, focus points that might seem like it's hyped. And PR is very huge. And as I said, I'm just getting started. So I don't want to say I'm an authority in PR, right? But in my perspective, as a, coming from a different, with a different skill set, as I said, for me, I love the piece of shining light on somebody and building meaningful relationships. And I do have experience with content development, as I said. And so for me, I'm more of a strategic thinker. And my PR service is very grassroots, and want to kind of introduce PR to small businesses that have hesitation in adopting to a PR service. Because when we say PR, we always think about movie stars, we think about big companies like Fortune 500 kind, where they need crisis management and all of that. So but there are other pieces in PR that even small businesses can use. That's going to hopefully increase their visibility. So that's my opinion. And in fact, I will be talking to a mentor soon, and maybe she can, debunk it if I'm wrong. But from my perspective, when I say PR, anything that's put out there for public consumption is PR. I even see blog writing as PR. Influencers are PR. So there are so many things that's out there in the content world that we don't give the label PR but are actually PR. We have social media marketing, which is different, in my opinion, than PR, but they do go hand in hand. I would say social media marketing is a subset of PR.
Mhm.
You are relating to the public, right? So I don't do social media management today. And my focus has been mostly on media relations and press release writing and, for small businesses and press release distribution. So I offer blog writing, I offer press release writing and newswire kind of distribution. That's called paid media. And then I also do media relations, which is called earned media. So if I pitch your press release to other journalists and publication, and they find it interesting and pertaining to their niche, we then they could come back for more. They could come back for a more in-depth interview with that person, or maybe even republish the press release in their own outlet. So that's called earned media. So basically, you're not paying for it, but people like what you're doing and they want to talk about you, right? So, and then there is shared media, which is the social media. So you basically share your own content in your own channel or advertise it. So that's the shared media. Right now, I'm not in the shared media space. I'm more on the paid media as well as the earned media, and I do blog writing too. So I mostly focused on the technology and startup companies. And So for me, I think because I come from the background of technology, I find it easier to connect with these folks and to kind of throw more light on what they are doing. And the corporate messaging, I do have a day job which I enjoy to the core. This is a part-time gig, and I'm getting to do whenever I have the time. So, and so I also work with our local university interns, which again is a way for me to connect with my community and give back. I try to give them that experience, and especially working with a smaller company like me, they would learn more because they would be given opportunities that they don't get with an established company to go network with people and go maybe, write something for the client directly. So, I love seeing these kids get these experiences, especially in the AI world. I do use AI assisted writing, which I'm very transparent about because I think it is important for efficiency. At the same time, the strategic thinking is what is the differentiator. The AI can write your press release, but then are you connecting the dots? Without context, it's going to be hard. The context is something we as humans hold today. AIs are getting there, but not there yet. And you got to pay a lot to give AI some context. So, us humans are able to connect the dots across different places. You have your client, you have your publishers, you have your media people, you have the people that you want to quote within your press release. You got to also work with them to make sure you're not, misleading them, their company. There is so many pieces that come together. And of course, just talking to your media relations, your journalist, and making sure that they are getting authentic content and not some fake content that's generated through AI. So
Mhm.
those are all important pieces where only a human can intervene. So for me, I think that strategic thinking also brought me to this PR, where I'm able to, build this business in a more strategic way to identify those things, as well as, as I said, I come from a different perspective altogether and rethinking PR for my technology folks. And also, and I acknowledge that I do need mentors to get me more acclimated to that space, and they take the values they already have built and incorporate that into my business. So, I think just going back to your original question, what brought me to PR is the three things: my content development, building relationships, as well as putting spotlight on others. Those three kind of, resonated with me, and that's why I'm here doing what I am.
All right. Now, if people wanted to work with you, this is the point where, tell us your, website, how to connect with you. Also give us the website for Child's Light.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can check out my website at https://nexusdiaries.com. And I also have a LinkedIn page where you can follow me as well as connect with me. And that's also at Nexus Diaries, Nexus Diaries, Diaries. And you can find me there. And Childslide is childslide.com. So they are amazing again. So please, even if you're not in within our community, but you still resonate with your cause, your support means the world to a child. So a child anywhere, in, even if they're not really next to you, it matters to them, and you're helping a life here. So please do consider, supporting our cause there. And me, I do knock on wood, because I don't personally connect with the cause. It is just the intention of helping the next gen, making sure our children also grow up in a very safe world, and all of that matters. And this cause is exactly positioned to do that. So that's how you can find the Child Slide. Please visit childslide.com, and they also have a LinkedIn page, a Child Slide. There are several Child Slide, but you can see a little flame icon. So that would be ours, because it indicates the light that we are bringing. Light, hope, and healing is our motto. So please check us out there.
All right. Well, thank you. So now I have a personal question. What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
Yeah. So I think for me, I was looking at happiness as the the all end all a while ago, and then the more I reflected on your question as well, I was thinking, is that what I'm really after? And I think it's important to find that happiness now and here, through moments, but ultimately, what I want is peace. Because where there is happiness, there's going to be sadness, there's going to be the opposite spectrum. So just going up and down that sinusoidal wave is not going to be what do I say, a thing that it's not a goal, basically. It is a journey. So you can have this journey and happy and fulfillment at the moments where you are able to support somebody, or you're able to you know give back, and or some celebrations at home, a kid's graduation, whatever it is. So those are all moments that brings you happiness, right? So for me, I think those are important. At the same time, finding peace within yourself, being comfortable with who you are, and just let things settle in, so that you are not chasing after something like and figuring out, oh, that is life. I need to get the goal, because after that, believe me, you will have another goal. So there's never a fulfillment when you achieve a goal. It just keeps going on. So I think I actually was going through some Instagram videos of a podcast with a monk, and I completely connected when he said, he's looking for peace. I'm like, you know what? He's right. I do want that. I want peace. I should be okay with everything around me, and know that I can't control everything and everyone, and know that, those happiness are when you achieve goals, and they are temporary. So you need to kind of be okay with that temporary, and then make sure that you move on, because life's journey is going to have those happiness and sadness, but the fulfillment piece is going to come when you find peace inside yourself.
Yes, that's a beautiful answer. Thank you so much. And thanks for being on the podcast today and being really transparent with your life and your adventures.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. I really enjoyed talking to you today. So, you know, I think sometimes just having conversation with people reinforces your beliefs and values. And I feel like that's what I got out of this conversations from you. So I really do appreciate this opportunity to both connect with you as well as your audience. And thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yes, so I have one last question before we complete. What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
Uh, I think be a lifelong learner, you know, just learn, just accept there are perspectives. There is no black and white in life. And find peace within yourself. So if you had a bad moment with somebody, you know don't judge them, and say, this is it, I'm moving away. There are negative people, that's a different story. But just give yourself grace and the other person grace. Everybody changes. So I would say, no, make sure that you keep those as lessons learned, and move on and enjoy your journey, and be in the pursuit of peace.
Thank you so much, Harini. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much, Kim. Take care now. I enjoy talking to you a lot. Thanks.